I'm Savita Hiremath. I'm the founder of the company Endlessly Green and also the author of the book Endlessly Green. Okay, so I come from journalism background actually. I worked with Deccan Herald, the Times of India, and the New Indian Express. I was the head of the department of journalism college as well. And later on, I had this chance to, set up a zero waste system for my community in Yelahanka. So I've come from Yelahanka to here today, and it's a beautiful atmosphere. I would like to dwell over very, very simple, techniques with which you can do home composting. If you want to do community composting also, the fundamentals will be the same. They don't change. Only the quantity that you're going to handle and the size of the composters differ. It gets bigger, but otherwise the fundamentals are the same. Okay. First thing, is there anybody who's already doing composting here at home? You don't know. Okay. Uh, what are the first thoughts that cross your mind when I say composting? Okay. When you okay, fine. You must have heard people who are already into composting and all that. What are the typical complaints that you have come across? Bad smell. Okay. Then flies. Then okay. Then what else?
And sometimes it just doesn't decompose enough.
Okay.
It's taking too much time, it's still not decomposing.
Okay. 2 points here. Huh, okay. Anything else? Any question? What have you heard of other typically the negative comments about composting? Anything? No. It's a mess. Okay. It's a messy affair. It's a smelly affair, right? And then what else? It's full of flies and smell and all that. And you also talked about fungus. Fungus is a very important part of the composting process. It must come. If it comes, you are doing well. Okay, we'll come to that later. So basically, composting is all about obviously processing your kitchen waste, your garden waste. Okay, what the first thing you need to do is segregate your waste properly, right? Once you segregate the waste properly, and another tip is to, for instance, you're cutting your vegetables at home. Okay, the tailings, the trimmings, and everything, just chop them into little smaller pieces. That will speed up composting by around at least 1 week. You'll get the compost 1 week faster if you just do that every day. What I have seen is it doesn't take more than 1 minute, not even 1 minute, to just chop off the remaining stuff. For instance, if you put a huge watermelon peel, it will take many days. If you chop it into smaller pieces, it will be that much faster. Simple as that. Okay. So this whole thing to do with composting started, especially we started hearing about it back in 2012. I don't know how many of you have, remember the first BBMP legislation, wherein they said that, the onus of processing the, biodegradable waste is on the citizen without giving us any idea about how to do it. Okay. But I was involved in setting up the system in my apartment in 2011 itself. So I was aware of what segregation is, but honestly speaking, no freaking idea about anything to do with composting. Okay, although I come from a farming community, my father, although he was a class one government officer, my mother was a homemaker and all that, but she used to work in the fields. There were piles and piles of compost, that is cow dung and straw. What else is there in a farm, right? And all the kitchen waste used to go to the cattle shed. So we did not face any problem as such in processing our biodegradable waste back then. But now it's a different thing altogether because we are living in such a densely populated city. This particular stream of waste is a very, it can pose many challenges if not handled well. But if it is handled well, this is the most precious thing, that we can sort of give back to Mother Earth. I'm not here to talk about how to save the Mother Earth. She'll save herself. Okay. It's ridiculous to talk about, okay, I did my bit for the Mother Earth, I'm going to save Mother Earth is far too powerful. We are just not even a speck on the entire, canvas. We are not even that much. what we need to be doing is to be answerable to our children. That's been my idea. I'm not going to be answerable to anybody else, but my child, if she asks me what have you done, she's already asking me. Okay, she's in 10th. She says, it's so, everything is so messed up all around. The air is not clear, the water is polluted, soil is also polluted. What are you giving us? Okay, at least from my end, I do my bit. So I'm very selfish when it comes to these things. Yeah, I have actually narrowed down my circle. I don't talk about Mother Earth, but it gives me immense joy when I harvest my compost, when I cure it, when I talk about it. I can go on talking about it endlessly, honestly speaking.
That's
Okay.
why it's endlessly green.
So this is actually a poem from Neruda.
Okay.
There was one particular line, and I took the phrase from there, and it started as a blog actually, um, back in 2012 when I started blogging. So I also, how I learned composting is fail, fail, fail. And unlike other people who start with home composting and move on to community composting, I did the reverse. I started off with 100 kgs. Okay, and every time I would fail and I would stink up the entire area. There are so many villas near that composting unit in our apartment, and they're still my arch rivals. Okay, they don't like the sight of me for all valid reasons maybe. So that's how it started. I went on experimenting, and moreover, waste management is something everybody thinks should not cost money, right? Nobody is ready, no community is willing to spend. But our community was a little different. They were pretty decent, no doubt. The management committee was supportive, all that was there. But nobody wanted to be in a department handling kitchen waste. A stinky affair, nobody came. I was all alone. Okay, and that really helped me. Sometimes going alone helps. It's goes much against the typical quotes that we get to hear, that when you move with the team, you go far, this and that. But it gave me a lot of time to contemplate what I wanted to do, to introspect, and to look for answers to which I did not have. I mean, I had too many questions, honestly speaking, no answers in sight. But it really gave me enough time to study. So that's when I started digging into huge, huge books on composting. Okay, I'm still studying the same. It's a beautiful mystery. Composting is a mystery, although we have cracked it to some extent, but the depth of it is something I don't think one lifetime is enough to fathom it. It's that beautiful. Okay, so that's how it began, and I conducted so many experiments within the community. We did typical, farmyard composting type. Using kitchen waste, cow dung, whatnot. Everything was a mess because I was not getting the proportions right. I did not know what carbon was, what nitrogen was. Okay, what is the ratio at which you have to put, because this is the point number one when it comes to composting. Getting your carbon, this is carbon, this is all carbon, this is your nitrogen. This ratio has to be right. If you get this right, everything goes smoothly. If you get this wrong, you can't correct anything else later on. So many people who fail with composting, I'm quite confident, because I have been in this field for 12 years now. Exactly, last October 2 was my 12th year. I mean, I completed 12 years in this field. I can tell you with confidence that they have gone wrong with their CN ratio, carbon nitrogen ratio. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, see, the science of composting is extremely beautiful. It's simple, because the moment I say the science of composting, everybody, oh, they think, okay, this is going to be tough. I don't want to spare a thought about the science of composting, but it is not like that. It's really beautiful, and it's not hard to understand either. Get this right, everything else will fall in place. Get this wrong, nothing will go right. Okay, so we are going to discuss the carbon nitrogen ratio today, and what is mainly carbon nitrogen, what should be the ratio at which you have to put. Okay, and how you should choose your composter, right? Because what I'm going to discuss here today is aerobic composting. Okay, the one that is done in the presence of air. This is the most versatile one. We don't recommend anaerobic composting much, because that's also good. If you are interested in that, that's also wonderful to do. But this is one method which can handle any amount of waste. but that is not possible with what is it, anaerobic composting. There are limitations. Okay, so if you are doing if you want to do composting in your community or something like this, in a place like this, then you have to go in for aerobic composting. Okay, if you want to do anaerobic composting, there is enough information in my website, my blog.
So what does anaerobic composting mean?
Meaning that is the one that is done in the absence of oxygen. You basically do it in an airtight container. Okay, but as against that, we have holes everywhere. This is also breathable fabric, so there is enough aeration happening. Okay, so most people who are into composting prefer aerobic composting only. Okay, so there are different sets of microbes that work in aerobic composting. Microbes that need air to survive, air and moisture. In case of anaerobic composting, they don't want air. Okay, they prefer completely an atmosphere that is devoid of oxygen.
And in nature, both types of composting happen naturally also.
Yes, they happen, but mainly it is aerobic that happens. Okay, so this is what it is. We will move on to carbon nitrogen. See, this is carbon. This is your coco peat, right? You must have seen it. You use it for your gardening also. If you are doing balcony gardening or terrace gardening, you would know this. This is your typical dry leaves. Okay, I put this also because many people keep asking me, can I put this also? This is also carbon.
These are those almond shells, pista
In the
shells.
pista shells. Okay, usually carbon is brown in color. It can be orange. Okay, it can be yellow also. Yellow leaves, brown leaves, orange colored leaves are all your carbon. Okay, usually it is fibrous like this. Okay, woody, wood chips, straw, cardboard also, but I don't recommend cardboard for aerobic composting. I'll tell you why. Okay, all that makes your carbon content. Okay, that does not mean that there is only carbon in it. There is something else also. There is nitrogen also. There is phosphorus. There is this. There is everything is there. But carbon is in very high quantity. That's why we simply call it carbon or browns. We also call it browns. Here comes greens or nitrogen content. Your typical all your kitchen waste. Okay. See, this is what went into. I mean, this is what we used in cooking yesterday. I mean, these are from my garden. So, this is your typical kitchen waste, which is high in nitrogen. Okay, the major macronutrient in this is nitrogen. Okay, we simply call it nitrogen or greens. Greens need not be always greens, it can be all this. So, typically whatever that comes out of your kitchen, everything that is edible is your nitrogen
So
content.
what about like leftover rice which got
Everything.
spoiled? All of that is
All
also
that,
nitrogen.
veg, non-veg. Okay, the only thing we avoid putting in our composter is coconut shells, for the obvious reason that they are very hard. They take more than 1 year sometimes to break down. If you keep loading up, after a point it will be full of only coconut shells, and moreover it will be this, it's like a half a shell, right? So waste gets into that and there is no aeration happening all around, right? Then it creates smell problems and people will think composting itself is a messy affair. That's not true. Okay, so please avoid that. And also, even if you cut it into pieces, when you are handling it, it might cut your skin. So just avoid it. Give it to, put it in your dry waste. Oh, okay, or otherwise see if there is another way to deal with it. So that's one thing, please avoid. Non-veg
Even
not a
tender
problem.
coconut shells also we should not.
No. Tender coconut shells,
Too
even
long.
regularly, yeah, the ones that you use for cooking, don't put any of that. Yeah, you can. But you can take out the fibrous part out of the dry coconut, you can use that. That's not a problem. Shell, that needs to be avoided. Please keep that in mind.
Green leaf is nitrogen,
Yes,
and when it is dried, then
it becomes carbon. Yeah.
so anything which is dry is carbon. Essentially.
No, we can't say that. You have to go by the color of it, preferably color. Okay, because sometimes even green leaf, when it is dry, it also looks green. That is still nitrogen. The flowers, the green leaves, everything is nitrogen. This part is the bark and all that is mainly carbon because it has high lignin content. I don't know if you are aware of it. Millions and millions of years ago, this entire planet was simply a green carpet. There were no trees, no plants. There were only mainly, you know, what do you call it? Lichens, okay, and there was moss, all growing at ground level. It was not even 1 inch tall. That's when Mother Nature developed lignin. When lignin, she discovered I don't know what to call it, discovered, manufactured, you please fill in the blanks, but when she came up with lignin, it started to grow like that, because the plants needed something like a strength, the strength to stand up, like a backbone. So that's when plants started coming up, even redwood trees that would go up to hundreds of meters. So lignin is very important. Okay. So that lignin is where, I mean, you know, the reason why it was sort of, created by Mother Nature, I would say. So for the same reason, it is very, very hard to break down. Okay. So, but typically in an urban environment, what happens is we use coco peat. Okay. Easily available, and most often for those people, see, if you have a single, dwelling, you can have some trees, you may have access to the Paurakarmikas. Okay, ask them to get you a bag of dry leaves, and you can pay him or her a little bit of money, and your problem is solved. But if you are living in an apartment, then access to dry leaves is not an easy thing. Even I find it difficult to, get some for my garden. So in that case, you can go in for coco peat, but coco peat is not a must. If you have a chance, if you have the time, space, and patience, composting is nothing but patience, just like gardening. Go with dry leaves. Don't waste your money on coco peat. I'm telling this even though we are the leading coco peat wholesale dealers in Bangalore. Okay, my company. All right. Why? Because it carries a lot of carbon footprint. One needs, yeah, it is a byproduct, it is a waste for all the coir industries, no doubt about it. But to make it usable for your gardening or composting, they have to wash it multiple times. Lot of water gets used up. It has to be transported from some place to Bangalore, from there to your home. This is ridiculous. Okay, please don't use it. Use this dry leaves as much as possible. It will take longer to break down though.
So the housekeeping stuff in my complex, I'd have told them every day just collect, then dump it. Just dump it in my house.
Okay,
That's it.
great.
So they keep on doing that. So
Okay.
I have an unlimited supply of
Oh, see.
dry leaves.
Yeah. So this is it. And the another essential ingredient is compost culture. But again, if you have time and space and patience, space, why am I saying space over and again, is because, see, if you want it to happen faster, you might need 2 or 3 composters. Okay. If you put dry leaves, it will take longer, then you may have to buy another set of composters. Okay. That is why space is directly connected to the pace at which composting happens. Okay. It smells nice, no? Yeah. Okay. So that's about it. Now, yeah. So this is, so how much should go in? I'll just move on with the uh, demo itself. Can I get that bucket? I show this bucket because most often we don't demo in such nice surroundings, okay, where there is enough light. Usually I'm stuck in a dark room and all, so it's very, people can't see what is happening here. Okay, so hmm? Okay, here you go. If you don't want to buy, that's my Eva composter and Ebony composter, but I'm not here to push my products or anything. You can use a waste bucket at home. Okay, but one important thing is, if you put holes into it, that's very important, something like this, as you can see, right? But that's not enough. It needs to have a tap, and it needs to have a filter like this. If you can arrange that, fine. Or if you want to go for a ready made standardized solution, that's also fine. I'm using this so that you can see it properly. Okay, if it is black and all that, you can't see properly. So okay, something like this, it fit in properly. Why? I just put up in my Instagram today. Okay, there are 3 things you need to remember while choosing a composter. One is, you're into aerobic composting, make sure your composter has enough aeration. you will face lesser trouble with excess aeration than insufficient aeration. Excess aeration, it may dry up a little bit, all you need to do is sprinkle water. You will not face any high moisture problem, high level of maggot proliferation or bad odor problem. If the air is less, all these problems will come, even your flies and everything. Most people are put off by something called maggots, okay, but they will be there. But the thing is, once they are in big numbers, it becomes difficult to handle. See, I love composting, but my husband may not love it so much, right? I put all my compost in my bedroom balcony. Okay, earlier I was using different kinds of composters and not enough aeration. All the maggots would come into the bedroom. Okay, all sorts of things. So, it became an issue at home. And until I cracked it, after I cracked it anyway, I'm not facing those many problems. But, not all at home are on the same plane, right? We are not on the same page all the time. It can put somebody off. So, make sure your composter is not overflowing with maggots. How to achieve that? There are tricks to do it. I'll come to that. Okay, so this is it. How do you start? I imagine that I'm doing it only with dry leaves. I'm not using coco peat. One is you should always start with carbon at in the bottom, top it off with carbon. Okay, so here you go. Put a layer of it. All right, and I use this microbe because this speeds up the composting process. But if you, as I said, if you have time and everything, don't worry about buying a culture also. All you need is dry leaves and your kitchen waste. That's all. So you go for it, sprinkle like this.
Some people also say that you can put in a little bit of sour buttermilk if you don't have.
Little bit. You can add it, but buttermilk, if you just keep on pouring, then it's a problem because again high moisture problem will come. Be very careful with that. Don't add cow dung slurry in your home composter. In a place like this, cow dung slurry is fine. If you are really keen on adding cow dung, dry it, turn it into powder, sprinkle the powder. Don't ever add slurry. Don't add rasam, leftover idli dosa batter. It can't take it. Okay, if you have sambar leftovers, take out the solid parts in it, put it into your compost. The liquid part should be sent to the drain. Can't help it. Okay, because one thing you should not do is put too much moisture into it. All compost, only this one can take excess moisture. I'll come to that why. Okay, so this is how it is. This is this is a culture. It's available in endlesslygreen.in. Okay, we put it mainly because, see, again there is time concern, right? We want to bring it out fast. Like, so for instance, if I want to bring it out in a matter of 3 or 4 weeks, then I add the culture. And this particular culture has a varied set of microbes and even a fungi. So what happens is it breaks it down fast. And this is basically a soil enriching agent. Okay, no need.
It will happen on its own also. This
See,
will
there are
fasten the process because microbes are there. This is additional microbes you are introducing which are dormant.
okay.
So as soon as they see a little water, they will wake up and they'll
And the work starts immediately. But if you are doing it without the culture, what happens is you have to wait for the microbes to colonize, and they have to grow in bigger numbers, like billions and billions of them. Then that may take some days, sometimes even 10 days, and then the process begins. Process will be there, but it picks up the pace after so many days. During winter and all that, it slows down. So this is how it is. I always, there is layering, carbon nitrogen and all that, but I personally prefer mixing it. See, for instance, imagine this is the usual size of a kitchen waste bin, right? We put kitchen waste in it. Just before I put it into the composter, I add it like this, take a rake, mix it, and then go to my composter, put my dry leaves, put this, and add some more dry leaves to it, put it, and then cover it with another layer of dry leaves. I am done. Honestly, no other problem comes. Okay, so this is what it is. Imagine that I have mixed it because I didn't bring my I usually bring my trough, which I did not. So add it like this, add some more dry leaves, I'll tell you the ratio also. And then usually you do like this, and then once again top it off with your carbon content. It doesn't have to be coco peat, but I don't have dry leaves, so nicely cover it. Make sure the food particles are not seen by the flies. When you do that, the flies problem gets reduced significantly. But one or two of them will be hovering over your composter. That can't be helped, because we may not smell it much, but those creatures smell it. It is their food. They will try to come and access the food. Okay, but this is the best we can do when it comes to that. Okay, this is waste. This is not a perfumery. We are not making, but perfume comes at the end. Please remember that we are handling waste. There will be these, some flies, some maggots will be there. We have to be patient. Okay, but the end result is equally rewarding, so have no doubts about it. So this is what it is. Okay, this is the simple process. Keep on, imagine, just mix it or layer it, up to you. Mixing makes it faster little bit. So fill it, for instance, till here, no, maybe leave 1 or 2 inches on the top. Okay, leave it free so that aeration happens from the top as well. Close it. If you are making a bucket, a composter out of a bucket, then put holes on the lid as well, because then we need aeration from the top. Okay, so some days, like some, depending on what has gone in, fruit peels, if you put a lot of fruit peels, then the compost tea is what we call it, no? The liquid part that starts coming out maybe in a week or in 10 days, depending on what you have put. So keep an eye on the every day when you go to fill it up, just keep an eye on it, check whether it is coming, take it out. If you don't want to use it for your gardening, because if you're using it for your garden, then dilute it by, like, for every one, say 100 ml of this compost tea, put 20 times more, 2 liters of water. It will be very strong, lots of microbes in it, beneficial microbes, which will help your garden. If you don't have the patience to do it, just pour it down the drain. If you are living in an apartment, your apartment water treatment plant will get benefited by it. Why? Because there are very healthy microorganisms that are going down the drain. They will keep on eating up the whatever the sludge that has built up. So it actually cleans the drain. So there are no negatives to this. Okay, but never let it get stagnated here. Smell problems comes because of that. Okay, don't keep taking it out. As and when it comes, take it out, put it into the drain.
How will you know it's there? I mean, you just see that it's wet.
You have to check. You have to check.
1:20 is the ratio, is it?
Yeah, for using it for the garden. Yeah. Okay.
You said carbon and nitrogen is equal. We have to put, right?
No, not equal. I'll tell you. See, for yeah, that should have been the first point. I don't know how I missed it out. Usually, I start with my presentation PPT. That gives me the flow. Okay. So, carbon. If you are using coco peat, take 3 parts of your kitchen waste. I am talking in terms of volume, not by weight. Measure it, whatever measure you have. 3 parts of kitchen waste, 1 part of coco peat. Okay. At the bottom, put dry leaves, or at the top, whatever. If you are initially, you will put use some excess coco peat, because you are preparing the bottom layer. Okay, and then 3 parts of kitchen waste, 1 part coco peat, microbes if you are adding, mix everything up, put it, and then sprinkle a little bit of coco peat on top of it. If you are not using coco peat, if you are using only dry leaves, make it 2. Prepare the bottom layer, 3 parts kitchen waste, 2 parts dry leaves. Okay, mix them up nicely. It's better if you can crush it, if possible. If you can do it, nice. Or what we usually do is we collect these in those kind of bags, fertilizer bags. Just stomp on it like this. Little bit of crushing happens, then use it for composting. Okay, kitchen waste. Okay, and mix it, whatever you want to put in, microbes fine, otherwise just put it, and then on top of it add dry leaves.
When you say mix it, what is mixing? Like both
Browse, yeah, I prefer mixing
both dry leaves and as well as the
kitchen waste.
both mix it.
Just now you did layering, but you're suggesting to mix it.
Mix it. Mixing is better.
Every time when you mix it, and you have to top it with the
Dry leaves or coco peat, whichever you are using. Always top it off with carbon.
In the bottom, bottom and in the top, like dry leaves should be there.
Yeah, or coco peat, whichever you use. Okay, cover it. Okay, never leave it. As I said, no, the waste should not be seen by rats or flies or whatever. This is how it goes. So this is the process. Okay, so
And so this coco peat, obviously, you'll need to take one of these sort of blocks and
blocks.
then put
Yeah.
it in water and
Yeah, there will be a method to disintegrate it. You know, put it in the required. They suggest what amount of water should go in, soak it, and I always prefer putting dry coco peat like this, so that it has. Yeah, yes, blocks. They are also available in loose, in loose form also.
but this is usually better to buy from a cost perspective because imagine if Amazon was delivering it, this has small volumetric aid. You can load a lot more of those in a truck, right? So these will usually end up costing lower than if you buy a bag from places like Amazon.
Or otherwise, if there is any nursery or
Yeah.
somebody, you know, who is selling it, that
And
also.
this one becomes what, like 20 times the size or something, right?
Yeah, see, this is about now 750 grams, not 20 times. It is about, you can get about 3.5 to 5 kg of coco peat. Okay, but dry it, dry it. Okay, if you are using this, don't dry it. It needs it to be wet. It's a different kind of scenario altogether. I'll come to that. So something like this, because it has the ability to absorb extra moisture. If it is wet, even when you are putting it, then it doesn't have the extra ability to absorb extra excess moisture. So keep it dry as much as possible. This is what happens. Leachate or compost tea actually keeps coming out, you know, and after, like, depending on what has gone into it, if you have used dry leaves, it will take longer, sometimes even 2 months. If it is coco peat, 3 weeks. Okay, if you're doing it well, if you stick to the procedure, no problem will come. But the advantage of using dry leaves, okay, is that, see, this is very, as I said, very hard, right? It has the spring action. Even if the waste falls upon it, it springs back up. Okay, creates aeration, air pockets get created on their own. No matting, no compaction happens. So that is very beneficial to your composting process. So that's one thing. Keeps coming out, you check, and once it is done, when you open it, right? So you, once in a while, just open it and see if you think the top portion is very dry. Sprinkle a little bit of water, keep it closed again, and then after about, if it is coco peat, about a month's time. If it is dry leaves, maybe it may take 2 months. Okay, you will see that most of it is broken down, but you will never see a composter giving you 100%, I mean, something that has processed all the waste 100%. Okay, there will still be some semi composted clumps in your composter. Don't worry about it. If you think 70-80% of it is done, take it out. Okay, how do you take it out? What is the signal that you get that, okay, my compost is ready? You get that earthy smell, the one that you get after the first, especially the after the first summer rain, the scent of the soil. That's what comes from your composter. Look at the algorithm. You put some unwanted waste into it, and you come up with a fragrance which no perfume company, even the top of the line perfume company, can reproduce. That's the beauty of composting. Okay, that's what you actually get.
Anybody knows the name of that smell? It's called petrichor.
Petrichor. Okay, two scientists, one Australian scientist and another person, gave the name to it. Okay, because a lot of chemical changes that happen when the raindrops are coming down and before they hit the earth. But how does your compost get that smell? Where is it coming from? There is this particular microbe called actinomycetes. Okay, that is half bacteria, half fungi. It's neither fungi nor bacteria, it's a cross between the two. Okay, that is present in nature, it's present in the soil. So when rain hits the soil, it falls on that particular microbe, and the microbe gives out that scent. The same microbe is present in your composter, in your composting pile. So when all the work happens, actinomycetes is the most active one during the last stages of your composting. It also helps in breaking down many kinds of waste, including your lignin, cellulose, hard to break down stuff. It takes care of that. So when the nice smell is coming out, that's a signal that, okay, most of the work is done. take it out, take out the large clumps, okay, put it into your next batch, or otherwise if you have large trees like this, just throw it, they'll take care of it. Okay, these big trees can handle it, but don't feed it to your small saplings, small plants, don't feed it, because there is still breaking down that needs to happen. During that process, heat gets generated and that heat can kill the plants. So don't do it. And then you harvest it, right? Take out the semi-composted clumps and all that. Now, use a similar kind of another bucket, or otherwise even those fertilizer bags, something like that, something a little more aerated one. Fill it into it, keep the mouth open, keep it moist all the time. Then what happens is curing happens. Curing is the second stage of composting. Most people don't do it because they have no information about it. If you don't cure your compost, then there will still be some heat in it. Okay, that is not good for your plants. Your compost should be cool to touch. This is completely cured compost.
So we have to let it
Stay for another couple of weeks.
couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay, and the compost is like wine. Okay, the older the better. Let it age nicely. Okay, when you let it age, it becomes humus. All right, so that's more beneficial to your plants, to the soil, than just freshly harvested compost or even freshly cured one. So if some compost is lying old, some in a corner, don't discard it thinking that it is useless. It is useful, far more useful than your freshly harvested compost, provided it is moist. One thing you need to remember about compost is it has to be moist at all times. During composting, during harvesting, during curing, and during your later storing periods. Okay, it has to be moist all the time so that the microbes are alive. If you take out the moisture, it becomes completely dry, then they die. At least 90-95% of them die.
You are advising not to
Dry it. Oh,
filter and dry, but instead you put it in a
yeah. If it is like, extremely like dripping wet, then you dry it in shade, never under the sun. Okay. And what is the right moisture? See, I am in this business. I go around with moisture detection tool, temperature, all the thermometer and all that. You don't have to do it. You use your senses. This is the right moisture. When you lump it up, it is like this, right? When you crumble it, like this. And your palm is laced with a little bit of moisture. This is the right moisture.
So for curing, you need to maintain that moisture yourself.
Yeah, see, once curing completely is happened, right, you can put it in airtight containers. Because,
During you have to open it.
yeah, during curing, because some aeration is needed during that period. This kind of bucket is also fine. Or those blue barrels, no, just put holes into it and put it for curing.
How long should you cure it for?
Cure it, curing, so how do you know curing process is complete? Dig your hand into it. If the entire pile is cool, ready to use. Cool and moist. Okay. If it is still warm, leave it for some more.
Because warm means decomposition is still happening.
Still
And if it is moist, so let it dry for more time. Right?
no drying. Moisture has to be maintained. Has to be maintained.
So the moisture maintenance, we have to drizzle some water.
Yeah, you can drizzle. During curing, there will be no smell problem. It will not give you any smell issues. It's only during the first stage of composting, which is called the active stage of composting. Only then smell issues and all that will come, but not while curing. You have to, most of the work is done. Okay, so nothing will happen. So typical problems faced by people who are into composting is, one thing is bad smell, right? Bad smell comes when there is high moisture. When there is high moisture, what happens is the moisture pushes out the air. Na? There is, imagine this is an empty container. It is full of air. Once I put water into it, it pushes out the air. No? There is only water fill. That's what happens in compost as well. So make sure there is no moisture retention. Use the right amount of coco peat. Sometimes what people do, they want to save on coco peat, save money on coco peat. So they think they just can sprinkle and get away with it. It doesn't happen like that. You have to put the required quantities of coco peat or dry leaves. okay, for it to happen well. Once you are done with 1 or 2 batches, use the old compost for speeding up the process, so that the microbes that are already present in the compost will help speed it up. But you cannot replace it. I mean, your cocoa peat or dry leaves, your old compost can't be a substitute for your cocoa peat or dry leaves. No replacement happens, because there is carbon in it, but it's low. What we need is high amount of carbon, like cocoa peat or dry leaves. Okay, many people do make that mistake as well and run into troubles. They think kitchen waste and old compost will take care of it. No, you have to add fresh carbon, dry leaves or cocoa peat. Okay.
Old compost and microbes that we used initially, exactly same.
See, if I have used this set of microbes, yeah, fine. See, there are millions of kinds of microbes. We have been able to isolate only a few of them. Okay.
The quantity that we need to put, right?
The microbial load goes on diminishing, no doubt about it. It will not be the same, because there is not fresh food available in this. So, but this much is enough for your garden. Okay, this is already very rich, extremely rich this is. So, this is what. So, another, maggots. How do maggots come? Maggots are usually high 1 or 2 days after it rains, because of the humidity levels. They love cool atmosphere. Okay, they love it when it is really cool. So during winter, maggots problem is much higher. How do you deal with it? One is aerate it well. Your composter must be very well aerated. Okay, this composter, for instance, we have made it a double shelled composter. There are two shells in it. So what happens is, when I put into it, because there is an outer shell, heat insulation happens very well. Okay, so heat retention is very good in this one. When the temperature builds up nicely, maggots are low, because they don't like it very hot inside. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. So aerate it well. Even then, if you find some excess maggots, what you need to do is add some little bit of extra cocoa peat or dry leaves, rake it up nicely, even it up, and then put another layer of cocoa peat or dry leaves. They will tend to disappear. Okay, so this is one way of dealing with maggots. Okay, temporary, he said it sometimes it takes very long to for the compost. That is because you have put excess carbon and less nitrogen. Okay, see, dry leaves are here everywhere. There is actually composting happening, we don't notice it, right? After a point, you will not see the same dry leaves, the new ones would have fallen on floor. How is it happening? It's a very, carbon takes long to break down, so, and it doesn't create any smell problems. But kitchen waste is a different problem altogether. Okay, this is a very smelly affair if not handled well. So what you need to do is get your ratio right, and in case you have put less nitrogen or greens, more carbon, that is dry leaves or cocoa peat, then the pace of the composting slows down. If it is not happening, you think add some more kitchen waste, mix it up. Always never heap it up like this. It should not be heaped up like this. Always even it up. Okay, and then put some dry leaves or cocoa peat on it, and you
Compost, right? The quantity
go good.
can we add fresh things?
No, don't, because again it will start, all the compost tea.
We have to use another.
It again starts trickling down. The one that is almost done, you are messing it up. You are unnecessarily pushing leachate into it.
So it keeps on
Don't do it. Take it out.
For example,
Start a new batch.
this bucket to be filled may take at least a week.
Then you are really consuming less. Well, anyway, okay, whatever. Yeah. So you might need to have maybe to buy a little bigger one. Okay, make sure there is good aeration. Okay, and these things are very
The
necessary.
initial days you can put, right? That's not a problem.
Initially.
I have to segregate and keep my vegetables to accumulate so that I can fill this bucket full.
No, every day you have to do it every day.
So you'll put in every day, then after a point of time you should stop, even though it is
Yeah,
reducing,
when it has reached this level, leave an inch or two on top and stop it.
after that stop it.
Stop
Even
it.
though it goes down, don't like
No,
top
no,
it
no,
up,
no, no.
basically.
Process is on. It has to go down. Fungus will build up. White layer will build up, and it is a good sign that breakdown is happening. Fungus, obviously, there is no life possible without that.
So first one, let's say 1 week I need to collect the waste. So 1 week I can keep
Yeah, until it fills up. Only until once it is full, just leave it. Don't disturb it. Once in a while, check if you think it has dried up. Sprinkle a little bit of water. Just leave it at that. Okay. Don't okay. It went down till here, and I'll add more. No, compaction happens. All the leachate from the top, that is compost tea, will come and settle here. This will start creating smell issues. Don't do that. Just take it out. Start a new batch. No. Okay. Any questions?
Old compost compared to that liquid concentration, if I have to put it in for a rose plant, right? I can put as much as possible, or there has to be no for a
You
rose
mean the compost tea?
old compost.
No, 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 there's
Compost
nothing.
tea or
Even you can, even if you feed excess, nothing will happen. It's not like a chemical fertilizer. It's
so
an
actually,
organic matter.
yeah, about 1.5 kilometers from here, there's Mr. Anil Kapoor's farm. He's a farmer, he's a customer. So he grows his own vegetables, and he buys mostly fruits from us. So he grows all his vegetables in pure compost. There is no soil also. His beds are complete compost, and it's working pretty well.
Nothing will happen even if you feed excess compost. That's the beauty of the nature,
But
right?
it should be fully decomposed one.
Yeah. Fully decomposed, nicely cool. Cool to touch compost is what we need. Only then it is stable and mature. Before it becomes stable, before it becomes, see, many people make, see, this is where the science of composting is important. We need to know the basics before we, get on to doing something messy affair. We get into a messy affair, right? We need to know a little bit so that we don't make those mistakes. My worry is that, those even who are really interested in doing it shy away from it because of smell, maggots, this, that. If you know how to handle it, that's where knowledge helps. That's where the science comes to our rescue. Why do we have to talk so much about the science of it, so that you are able to troubleshoot the moment you see, sense some problem. Oh, it is dry. Okay, I need to add. It is very wet. Rake it up. Let it open the, keep the lid open. Let it dry and then close. Simple things. Composting is so much like cooking only. Get the ingredients right, temperature right, the right thing will come out.
What
Okay.
about those fast cooking composting machines which say
Yeah,
in one
thank you for
24
asking that
hours?
question. Those are all bogus. Okay.
Because
There is
they are coming to all apartment complexes and trying to sell those, right? Why do all
one
this
big
hangama?
company which made crores out of these machines shut down. They stopped the operation because they could not handle the complaints. I'm very proud to say that right from 2014, I have been writing about this. Okay, my blog is full of scientifically researched articles on how composting does not happen in 24, 36, or 72 hours. That's not how Mother Nature has designed this process. It always takes its own time. We can only tweak it a little bit. We can only speed it up a little more by adding cultures and this and that. But anything beyond that, she does things at her own pace. Okay, many kinds of microbes have to come and go, they come, do the job, perish, and another set comes in. You won't believe the temperature that can be reached just by putting carbon and nitrogen together. Scientists have recorded 72 degrees. The temperature inside your composter can go up to 72 degrees. Okay, in my composter, not this one, you need a bigger pile. In my community composter, I have put up even pictures also, videos, not just pictures. I put the thermometer like this. You can see the temperature going up to 69. That's my community composter, large scale composter. In my home composter, recently I have recorded up to 57 degrees centigrade in this. Okay, that is the level of heat that gets generated. Imagine what is going on there. So let it go on for some more time. One reason why nobody wants to deal with, majority of the people don't want to deal with waste. They want to just put it in that machine, burn it and throw it. Do you know, see, there is this Salaripuria Symphony in Electronic City, that's an apartment. I do case studies also. Wherever these machines are troubling people and they are ready to talk to me, I go there as a journalist. I record all their statements and I write a blog about it, so that to make people aware of it. There, they were getting 25,000 to 30,000 rupees of power bill only from one machine, which was burning not more than 150 kgs per day. They have to pay the laborer for that, plus this level of power bill. Imagine. And after that, what did the company do? They just block the customers' numbers. They will not attend your calls. Initially, they say maybe 5,000, 6,000, sir, for power bill, and then after that, they don't listen to, they don't take your calls. So this is the situation. No composting can happen that way. It's all bogus machines, and what comes out of it is it's a very harmful stuff. It smells very bad, but unfortunately, it looks so much like bloody compost only. That's what misleads people. So if you feed it to your plants, plants will die because it's not this one. It's a burnt stuff. Moreover, because you're burning, you'll end up burning plastic as well. In that Salaripuria symphony, the machine was like this, and it started giving out very thick black smoke. Okay, just like your car, or horribly maintained car or truck or whatever. So then luckily the adjacent site was vacant. They put some, they created an outlet and started letting it out into the empty, the vacant site. And later, after 6 months, they stopped using it after spending 18 lakhs on the machine.
What
This is
does it take to do composting in a apartment community? How much does it end up costing? How much effort is required?
see, usually going by my composter, this is the math that I have. One time investment for nearly 15 years per home, not per individual, per home would be not more than 3,000 rupees. You put your 3,000 rupees there, make your management committee to work on it, set up a system that can run for easily 15 years, provided you have chosen the right one. Second thing is operational. You know, monthly expenses may not be more than 50 to 60 rupees per home. That's all you need to do. You know what? The beautiful thing about taking care of your kitchen waste is we have done some bit of survey for the last 12 years or so. 60 to 65% of the waste we put out on a daily basis is kitchen waste. So if you are doing this composting, you are actually making the landfill 65% smaller, kinder, right? So this is what we can do for the city, for ourselves. So let's not, as I said, Mother Earth is a big thing. Talk about the people who are living around the landfills. I don't know if you have visited places like Mandur, Mavallipura, and so many villages. Now they are again into landfill hunting.
So what
Okay,
happens if, like, let's say you decide I am not going to do composting, I'm going to do segregation. So I've put
that's
in food
enough.
waste, etc., and then I'm giving it to whoever is coming in the complex to pick up stuff.
Yeah.
After that, what happens to that wet waste?
Okay. See, the thing is, there are service providers in Bangalore. They come and buy your waste at a certain price, and then they are processing it elsewhere. They are service providers. But make sure you go for a reliable one. You never know. There are so many people making money out of this whole thing, right? They will come, pick it up, they may dump it somewhere saying that we are doing composting. So please do some research. Okay. Ask them all the hard questions needed. Okay, that is one way of dealing with it. Another way is, yeah, you are setting up a system in your community. Okay, all you need to do is segregation. What a beautiful thing to do. So when I'm traveling or whatever, when I can't do composting at home, I just thoroughly religiously segregate it and give it to my community composting unit. My waste has never gone out of my compound. My home, one thing, my compound for the last 12 years. This, I give it to my neighbors. you know and hoping that they'll get interested in composting, but so far not much of only marginal success so far. Okay, but you are never going to be unhappy with excess compost. It's something you want to, I feel very rich when I have wonderful soil or wonderful compost in my storeroom. Honestly, I feel it's like having, my mother would say when we were little children, no, a house full of pulses, rice, and all that is a beautiful sign, she would say. Okay, and we would usually store it right at the entrance, and as children, amma yenidu, what is this, it is looking ugly, take it away, hide it somewhere. She would scold us. This is actually real Lakshmi. Whatever puja is doing, this is what it is. Don't use words like that. So I feel the same thing about this also. When I have a lot of compost, there is some kind of satisfaction that I have done some good thing is there in my house. Honestly, I'm not a religious person. I don't do puja and all that, but these are things that I believe in. This is my connection with a greater, invisible ultimate force. I can't say beyond this.
The matches will go away on their own.
They die right there.
I,
When the temperature builds up, they die, they become compost. and they are actually, you know, the maggots are nowadays are being fed to many kinds of animals because they are highly nutritious. They themselves are very nutritious. Okay, so they end up making your compost much richer than otherwise. So don't think that it is going to give me some, you know, disease and all that. Honestly, 12 years I've been doing it, I have never fallen sick because of composting. Okay, so don't trust. I'm unfortunate thing is, you know, the Center for Science and Environment, CSE magazine, has written a bullshit report recently. I don't know what they have done. I always liked Sunita Narayan for what she did for you know, environment, this and that. The kind of document they have come up with, it is anybody who is wants to do composting will not do composting. Yeah, they have written about what kind of infections you will get, this and that. No, please don't trust it. Maintain some level of hygiene. Okay, even your kitchen, whatever the waste, that can have salmonella, can have E. coli. Even people who haven't, so that means what? Nobody got E. coli infection before composting. We started composting. Many people get E. coli infection. No, that can come from our food. What all kinds of food sources our food comes from. See, you are all evolved people, I would say, who are ready to come here, interact with the farmers, which is a beautiful thing, because this is the only way we can turn things around. All the change begins in small pockets like this, right? Never, you know, industrial agriculture is what is ruining this earth, right? That's what is doing. So the best way to do it is, you know, I'm fine even if you're carrying some different kind of, you know, not a cloth bag sometimes, but if you are buying organic food, you are doing much more for the environment, because healthy soil can mitigate climate change by 40% within 1 or 2 years. That is the power soil has. So healthy soil means climate problem is going down. So please focus on what we eat also, not just what we do with the leftovers. Okay, and one more last thing I want to say, your composter is so much like your gut. You know, your food should come from different sources, it should be colorful, different variety of fruits and vegetables must be consumed for you to remain healthy and happy, right? That's your gut health. Same here, if you put food scraps, of course, trimmings, this and that, from different sources, the fragrance of the compost will be much stronger, and the compost will be very rich, because it has greater nutritional bandwidth. Okay, so I look at, usually I keep looking at the, okay, I have the, has my family eaten properly today? Okay, I see some fruit peels, different kinds of vegetable peels, I feel good about it, honestly. Okay, so there is this word called redolence. Okay, that is, that's so directly connected to the smell of the compost. Okay, so if you really want your compost to be rich, try to use at least a little bit of dry leaves, because leaves come from different trees. Cocoa peat comes from only coconut tree. Okay, different trees, different kinds of fruits, different kinds of vegetables, non-veg is also okay. Your compost is very rich. You don't need anything more than this. There are people who put, they think, you know, I'll dry the eggshells, put it in the mixie and feed it to the plants. Plant roots will not get up and start eating the eggshell powder. That has to be first processed by microbes. Unless it is processed by microbes, the roots can't access that nutrition. Okay, and there is one more myth. I am a plant-based person. Okay, for my health, I changed my diet completely. I'm doing far better. This is the best thing I've done to myself, and my family is also turning nicely. There is a myth saying that, you know, if you are only plant based, rejects are going into your composter, then it will be low in calcium. Please don't believe that. No, even your peels, everything has enough calcium in it. Okay, have no such myths bothering you in your mind. Okay, nothing. One can live very happily without, you know, with far fewer disease by eating only plant based food. Okay, likewise your composter will also do very well. But if you are into eating non-vegetarian, this and that, add that, no problem. Can go. But some bones, unless cooked, no, they will not decompose, of course, but they will keep releasing calcium and magnesium and all the other things. Take it out, put it into the next batch. Okay.
Sorry.
Hmm.
If you're suddenly if you're out of station for a couple of weeks or something unplanned, how to handle it? Because
Leave
every
it
day
just
we
it
have
is.
to.
No, 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 no. Every day you don't have to rake.
Okay.
Fill it completely. I mean, leave 1 or 2 inches. Leave it at that. Okay. If you want, you can rake it up. Otherwise, just leave it, and when the smell comes, take it out. But if you think there is excess moisture, other problems, then you need to rake it up. Every day, don't do it. No need. Nicely take care of this proportion. Fill it up as I said. Layer it or mix it. Okay. Just once it is full, move on to the next bin. Okay, and then keep taking the leach out. That you need to drain. That's one thing you have to do correctly.
If somebody has a backyard, I mean, can they do this? I've seen people do this where they would take a pipe, right, like a
Pipe
6 inch,
composting.
and they'll just put the pipe in the soil, and they'll just keep on putting the
Yeah,
kitchen waste in that.
yeah, it can
Nothing
be.
else they'll do,
No, that
and
can be done.
it automatically keeps reducing,
Yes.
goes
Yeah,
off, right?
yeah,
That's
it is
also very
easy
interesting
to
method.
do. But that's something you can do when you are in a villa, single dwelling. That is possible. Pipe composting. Yeah, you can do some research on the this one. Okay, but it can handle very small quantities, not big quantities, because it's just a pipe. You go on putting it, maybe you have 10, 15 of them along the periphery of your compound or whatever. That's something doable.
And
It
there
will
I think
also keep
earthworms will
receiving.
also come in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It will keep releasing the nutrients to the soil surrounding. That can also be done. That's called pipe composting.
If you're a home gardener and let's say you're really doing composting very religiously and all of that stuff, then like it's very interesting, right? You're eating all of these vegetables,
Yeah,
that, and then a very large part of it you are kind of composting, using it back to again grow vegetables.
yeah.
Any idea about what percentage kind of, if you're doing it very extensively, is it like okay, you are reducing your
65%.
65% in terms of what you have to get from the outside to feed your garden? I mean,
No, no, no. You see, depending on the size of the garden and the quantity that to be processed per day. Okay, your whatever compost you make using your kitchen waste should suffice. Okay, but for instance, my apartment is set on an 8-acre campus. We have only 200 homes. Okay, so the waste that we put out is not enough to feed the entire garden there. We have to buy it from outside. So likewise, it depends on the ratio. But otherwise, a single home with with this one, and you will keep getting your dry leaves from the trees and all that. Okay, even borrow some kitchen waste from the surrounding homes, segregated of course. Okay, you are taking care of all the needs.
do you end up saving a substantial part of your cost of doing
Yeah,
a
of
home
course, of
garden
course.
if you are doing composting?
Yes, of course, provided you use the dry leaves. If it is coco peat, then there is some outgo. Okay, that is one problem.
Anything that not to be put
As I said, coconut shell,
coconut other than coconut, shell, nothing else.
nothing else. Everything can go, but cut it into smaller
Small
pieces
pieces.
as much as possible. Because why I say it is, for instance, imagine. Okay, yeah, right. This is my peel. When I do this, you are increasing the surface area.
Surface area.
So the microbes can attack from here also. So the this much is fine. Don't put it in the mixie ever. Yapa, somebody had put it and she created a big mess, and then I kept on. What did you do? No, I did this. Then she says, I put it in the mixie. I said, never put it in the mixie, because it
It
gets
will become wet
matted.
mash. Then there is no aeration. Again,
No
right?
aeration. She tried mixing coco peat to it. God, what a mess it was. Okay, so don't do it. If it is of this size, is also fine. Not smaller than this. This is more than enough.
So
Okay.
when you use the greens and also the carbon, right, like the leaves and everything, you don't need to add extra moisture, right?
No, no, no. See, the most of the food that we put out has up to 90%, 80% of it is moisture only.
So I
If you
remember you mentioning that okay, just see whether it is dry or something.
sometimes what happens, depending on the temperature outside, okay, things can dry up inside. Okay, and if your composter, this one has 360-degree aeration from the bottom also, and in 2 days, the compost comes out in 15 to 20 days in this, because of very high aeration. What I did was, during the trial stage, no, I would every day go sprinkle water. Heat builds up like crazy because there is good aeration. When
Also
heat
heat
is high,
increases, the
obviously
moisture
it dries down. Huh?
dries down.
Yeah,
Whenever they see the water flows.
yeah. So then again, I would sprinkle. Let the process again begin. But the compost came out wonderfully in this. So again, See, so many things are interdependent. The composter that you have chosen, the nature of the waste that goes in, all are interdependent. The particle size, whether you have used your culture or not, all these work towards how fast the compost can come out. Okay. And another thing, okay, the earlier people know, like they would get the test done of their compost and then send me the PDF files. Look, calcium is low in this, phosphorus is low in this. I said, you didn't eat enough calcium, you didn't eat enough phosphorus. How will your compost get that? So what goes in is what comes out. Input decides the output. Okay. Don't worry about any of those things. Don't worry. If calcium was low in one batch, it will be high, probably high in another batch. Okay. Don't get into the pH level headaches. Don't get into testing your compost. It's meaningless. Okay. Don't do it. Whatever you consume, we are surviving, right? That means our plants will also survive with little bit of imbalances here and there. Okay. So it's not like calcium is low that they'll start growing weak knees or anything.
Every day when we are adding the greens,
Mm.
like every day we need to mix up with the dry leaves and add it.
Yeah, of course.
That's the idea, right?
Every day.
Otherwise, the ratio
Ratio,
will
every
change.
day we need to maintain the ratio.
Yeah, maintain. See, that's just a matter of maybe 4 or 5 days. After that, you'll get a hang of it. Very blindly, you will go putting this and that. Okay, some days you will realize, okay, you are short of dry leaves for a day or two. The next day, you will instinctively add some extra dry leaves and make it up. Get it balanced out.
You'll observe and like we'll learn it automatically.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like the volume when you mentioned, right? Like because the volume is like okay, very tricky thing, right? Especially now, how like compress and like and see the volume or like
No,
because
dry leaves you can if you are.
just add it and like just press
Yeah,
it a little bit
yeah,
and like observe the volume.
yeah. Okay.
Put this in the shade or in the sunlight?
This one, no, it has to be placed inside a place like that, even in a corner where there is not enough area. That's actually the best spot for this. That needs a place that is well aerated. Okay, this one in a corner where there is not enough aeration, because there is very high aeration. So it's a different kind of
What is
composter.
this made of?
This is geofabric actually. Okay,
Geotextile.
yeah, this one, and three of these. Huh? Closed room is also okay, not a problem. But no need, because this is not rainproof. That is rainproof. That's
All this is outdoor is better, yes. The
balcony, typical balconies, okay, or your backyard if you have a single home.
Sunlight is not a must.
No, sunlight is not at all needed,
How come that doesn't have a tap?
because
It evaporates from the.
evaporation even during the very high active stage, no, first 15-20 days are very high. Lot of work is going on, heat is getting generous, CO2 is released, all those things are happening. Even when I touch the bottom like this, it was not even moist.
And can these be stacked?
Yeah, we actually three of them. I get
the set
only
comes
one
with
for
you.
my. It comes on. You can go on stacking up, and then rearrange it as you feel comfortable.
Do rats etc. get into this?
Yeah, rats. It's not rat proof. That is rat proof, but that is made of FRP, a costlier one compared to this one. Our customers in Mumbai, they don't have space to put even two of these next to each other. They said, we need, is it stackable? Is it stackable? They would always send me that question. So we made a stackable one. When you are making a stackable one, it has to be light. If it is heavy, elderly people who are interested in composting will not do it, because they can't lift it and put it down and all that. This is very light, extremely light. So this is what we came up with, and this does a good job. Any other
So
question?
if you have like maybe a cook and a maid sort of a thing who are doing, and you are all working outside, and you just somehow come back home at night and food is ready for you, then how do you like
I
train the
always
workers?
train
You
my,
train your maid, or
yes,
you
yes.
have to do it, or how?
No. I always train them, incentivize them. They have to do it only when I'm not around, right? When I'm out of town or something like that, or otherwise on those
Or
days
you
we
come back home and then you do
yeah,
it.
yeah, like that. So I train them basically. It's very important training them. Just show the ratios. Don't complicate it for them. This ish hakpudu. They will do it.
What is the ratio of carbon? Say carbon is increased.
Carbon has increased. As I said, the pace comes down. Heat does not build up. If you have excess greens, okay, then what happens is carbon is low, excess moisture problem will come, maggots may come in bigger numbers.
Paper waste can be used.
Paper waste, please don't, because that takes long to break down and the ink is poisonous. It has a lot of toxins in it. Please don't. Always send it for
But these
to the
brown
other.
paper bags, etc., those we can use.
I don't use paper at all.
What about those egg cartons which comes?
I don't use any of that.
Because they all
Send
have
it
some
for
chemicals.
some chemicals or the other. Moreover, very long to break down, and they have the tendency to lump up. They
What about hay, which
yeah, I know straw. Hey, yeah, yeah. But again, you can use it, but we don't usually use it in home composting. Okay, in a farm like this, it is fine. That's carbon content. Okay, you can always try, but we have not, because hay straw is not at all available in a city like this, right?
It's actually like
Mm.
less available. Farmers are all struggling to get enough hay, right?
Yeah, that is
Costs so much.
for the animals fodder. Any other
And
questions?
you do work only based on these or like bioenzymes and all?
Bioenzymes I make, honestly, see, I have been using vinegar mainly to clean my home since 2004. So even before everything about eco-friendliness, this and that started, I was using vinegar, baking soda, and borax to clean my entire house. Um, yeah, that's all I need. So for that reason, I did not take to bioenzymes very enthusiastically. All those goes into all this peels,
So there's
everything.
no problem with citrus peels in compost. I mean, I've heard
Again, there is another
Even
myth
I
that they say pH level it will be very acidic. No. You know what? Get your carbon nitrogen ratio right. Number one fundamental, that is okay. It is the whole composting process is designed in such a way that even if you do composting using only citrus peels also, at the initially when the process is on, pH level goes up like this, comes down like this, all these things will be happening. When it is towards the completion, it comes to normal, close to normal at least. Okay, so never worry about putting citrus peels into. There were citrus peels in it, orange peels were there, lime peels, nimbe hಣ್ಣು ಸಿಪ್ಪೆ ಎಲ್ಲ ಹಾಕ್ಬೋದು. Nothing to worry. Don't listen. See, people na that's what I like, that calcium myth. They come up with different kinds of myths. Okay, so that is nothing to worry about. That's what I talked about, pH level and all.
Compost.
Yeah.
I will know the
This
idea
is
then.
this is unsieved. Okay, I have not sieved it.
Okay. Normally, okay. You mean the lumps and all you?
Yeah, I have just let
but
it
this
stay
is
there.
cured.
Completely cured. Look at how it.
Same. అదే వాళ్ళు అన్నారు కదా.
But now, because it's old compost, the fragrance will be out.
Yeah, it's
It
still
loses its it little bit there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But otherwise, when you take it out now,
So all
harvest
these
it.
must be separated, is what you're saying.
See, I have a big garden nowadays. Okay, so I put it into the ones which are mature plants. We directly feed it.
Okay.
No time to sieve and all that. Earlier I
If you're
used to
selling it commercially, then you'll see
sieve and all that. For my garden, I don't do any of those things.
Add sand. I remember like people add sand also.
For
For the compost.
Yappa, no, don't. No. Why sand? What does
I
what?
do remember people. Maybe I read or like I saw in the YouTube channel something like add some
Soil because of the
soil,
microbes, soil microbes.
Okay.
But don't do it because again it can get matted.
Okay.
Once the layer becomes stuck, right, then aeration, it blocks aeration. Don't use sawdust also.
Okay.
Avoid sawdust
Soil is also.
because that's a very fine powder, na. So it goes and sticks on the surface nicely, and then it doesn't let the aeration happen. No air can go into the waste.
Soil, why did it say no?
Because again that has the same problem.
Aeration.
Yeah, aeration, it can block aeration after a point. It is fine when you're doing it in a place like this. Okay, when there are open air and all that, even if there are smell issues, you will not notice it. But at home, everything becomes an issue because it's a small microclimate, micro environment that you have created. So everything tends to become a problem. So take out all these unnecessary headaches. Stick to the fundamentals. Things will come out well. I never
around this farm, you'll see they're using this mesh, wire mesh sort of a thing. They have created this cylindrical thing, put it, and then they keep doing layers. So you put this wire mesh sort of thing, right? They'll just make a cylinder, put it on the ground, and they'll keep on piling the pipe compost. The pipe compost is you take like a proper PVC pipe, you put it into the ground, and then you are putting stuff into it.
Thank you for the wonderful session.
Thank you. Hope it was useful. Was it? Yeah. Nice. Nice
What's
to hear
this?
that.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book, at least for the video?
Yeah, this book was published in during the peak of Corona. Unfortunately, I never published by Simon Schuster and Yoda Press jointly. This talks everything about solid waste management, and since this is my composting happens to be my favorite, topic, so I have written extensively on everything to do with composting, including the history of composting. Over 6,000 years or so. I did some research, wrote about it's fascinating. The history of composting, how humans actually learned the value of compost and how they started doing composting is a very beautiful history. Okay. And the most beautiful connection with everything to do with composting has Bangalore connection.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's called, there was this person, the expert called Sir Albert Howard. Okay, he started experimenting with windrow composting. You pile it up like this in lines and do composting. He took a lot of inputs. It was in the 1930s, 40s. Lot of inputs from Indian farmers. They did a lot of experimentation using all kinds of bone meal, even blood, animal blood, this that. They did everything, but they still could not figure out the smell problem. Then the whole thing from Indore, it's called the Indore process. Okay, it's called Indore process. Then the smell problem got corrected in Bangalore in an institute. They learned to turn the pile. Look at it, turning the pile took so many years of work. Now it is so easy for us to talk about it. Once we crack a problem, everything sounds easy. Till then, it's a big problem. So the last problem was fixed in Bangalore. So I'm
And
so
now
happy.
that method is used everywhere. All organic
Everywhere.
farms in US.
Yeah, everywhere. But that it took so many years of experimentation, patience, and all those things to get that problem corrected. So that's the beauty of. I mean, like yeah. When I was reading it, Bangalore came in. I said, "What's Bangalore doing here?" Then I learned. I have even written about it in my book. So there is all about science, the science of composting, which I really loved researching and writing about. Okay. Uh,
Cool. Thank you, Savita. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shami. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.